This conference will now be recorded.
Satish, for this recording, I have a question.
Hey, able to hear me?
Yeah, Satish, I have a quick question about this video recordings.
Yeah, yeah, please go ahead.
So this video, is it available for a certain time or is it going to be there forever? Like, do I have to download and keep a copy for my...
No, 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 not required. Not required. This will be available forever. Okay.
Okay, thank
This will be a permanent access.
you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Were you able to hear me for the last 10, 20 seconds? I don't know
No,
whether
no,
my
no,
mic was
no,
off.
no,
Oh, okay,
no,
sorry.
no.
Okay, okay. Good that you asked the question because I think my mic was turned off by mistake. Okay. Okay. What I was saying is, okay, the previous day we were looking into all these different ways of creating a class file and calling one class file from another class file, how to invoke a method from the another class file is what we have been seeing the other day, right? And then the other things that the typical developers are going to do is how to make a DB connection, how to make an how to out he has to go and connect with this downstream services or third party calls, right? So for all these kind of activity, or even for other work, right? Reading a file from a CSV or reading a JSON, right? All these algorithm, you will not write 100 lines of code or 50, even 50, 60 lines of code, right? Is going to make use of the um, the reusable libraries, reusable jar files. Right? Somebody in Java community would have written a a lot of classes, a lot of methods, and they would have packaged into a jar, right? It is kind of a reusable library. You can think that if you might have written some programs which will take care of connecting to a MySQL DB. Okay, it will have classes, it will have methods. That itself is a package. That itself is a complete Java project, and then you will export that into a jar file, right? If you go to Eclipse, you can just go and right click it, and then they would have created a exported a this into a um, jar file, right? And that would be made available uh, in the open source community, either in the Git or in somewhere. If you go and search in the internet, I need a jar file for MySQL connectivity, you will get the jar file to get downloaded. And one of the safest and most usable repository is something called Maven. Okay, you can go and download it from the Maven as well. Okay, that's how the developers do. They connect to the Maven, they download whatever jar files they want for JSON or for CSV or for connecting to a MySQL DB, or for whatever requirement you have. If you go and search in the internet, they will give that jar file which has to be downloaded, and also the other 10 lines of code which has to be written to achieve that exact need. Okay, for example, as I was mentioning other day also, right? Don't go, if you want to learn Java even more, don't go by book way. Go and you write your 5 6 7 requirements. It can be anything. It can be parsing XML. It can be reading a JSON, writing into a JSON file, or writing a CSV and writing into a DB. You get your own requirement, and then go and find out the algorithm code in the internet. You will they will the Google will say that if you need to download 2 3 jar files, and then you need to write this code, and then you go and copy this into Eclipse and it will work. Or with now with the chat GPT and all, right, it is going to be even more easy. You just go and ask chat GPT how to read a CSV file and write into MySQL, give me a code, it will give you everything, right? But once that is given, you take that into your Eclipse, you copy it and then run it, and then try to do a little bit of reverse engineering what it is happening in the code. That's the best way of doing the learning the Java at this stage of the career. Okay, so to come back to our topic, to make a DB connection or to make a HTTP connection, there is something called import you have to understand. So importing is nothing but importing that reusable jar files, okay, into your project. So you might have downloaded the jar. Say if you go to Google and then say jar file Java MySQL. Okay, so there's a download connector. You can go into any of this directory and then select it is platform independent. You can download the, yeah, maybe MySQL is asking for login. Let me go to the other site. MySQL Java. Or you can directly give Maven as well. It will give you the Maven, from Maven as well. You can download it. So you download the jar file from Maven or from any of these sites. I think it would have downloaded anyway. Yeah, there is a MySQL connector Java 8.0.3.jar is downloaded, right? So you just download it and keep it in any of the folder. Now you go to the Eclipse, okay, and then right click it, and then go to the build path, configure the build path, okay, and in the library you need to add the class path, okay, add external jars, and then downloads wherever you have downloaded that jar, right? That you need to say, for example, this is a jar which you downloaded. If you want to download this, open API generator CLI, for example, some other jar file for some other need, just say open. Okay, this will get added, and then say you can apply, and then close it. Okay, I'll just remove it for now. So you download the jar file, and then in the project, right click it, go to the build path. In the library, you will add your um, MySQL jar file, or whatever jar file that is required for your project to work. You will keep adding it. Okay, so that is how you import your external jar files from the internet, or in some cases, your within your organization they might have written some reusable code for SSO logins, or it could be anything. The jar can be given by other teams, your colleagues, or from the internet, right? Whichever you're going to reuse it, you're going to um, import into your build path. Okay. Once that is done, say this is the program for my DB Connect. Okay, so the DB Connect, if you see, there is only one line, or rather maybe two lines to connect to my database. Nothing else, right? I am just in the top section. I need to import all the required packages. Okay, so the jar I have imported, but in the program or in the class file, you need to import all the packages again. In fact, you don't need to worry about whether you have given the right import or not. You will get a suggestion in the Eclipse itself. Once you added that jar into your path, in your build path, you will get the suggestion. Say, for example, now you would have written these lines from your internet, right, to make a connection with DB, and then to um, uh, do the query with SQL. You might have got all these lines of code, right? Now it is giving all errors. This is error, and this is error. Now, if you go and mouse over it, okay, it will say that import the connection. Okay, then you will say that you will click this. Okay, then the import would have added in the top. Then you come for SQL exception, there is a error, right? So then it says import SQL exception, add it. And then it says driver manager, there's a error. Mouse over, it will say create constant, create parameter, come down. All these things you might not need to do it. Let's see, let's wait. Probably we'll go down. Only the import we will try to, and here it's not required. Prepare statement, import java.sql. Right, so now only error what we see is here in this line, the driver manager, right? In fact, it should also give you the suggestion for driver manager to import the package for driver manager. It is not giving proper suggestion. So what you can do is, you can try saying import java.sql.star. Okay, you can just go on Google and then find out what is the package name for driver manager. You will get it. In fact, the actual importers, this you need to import dot star. You should actually avoid it. Maybe for your learning, for your debugging, that is fine, but not for your actual application. The actual developer, for when he is working on an application, putting a dot star is not advisable one, because it will import all the packages, all the class, which is going to be huge, right? So dot star has to be avoided, but for your debugging or learning, you can still use it. Okay, so in fact, the actual recommendation should be this. This should be imported actually, but I don't know why Eclipse didn't give that recommendation. But anyway, so the way you will do is, you will add the jar to to your build path, and then you will import whatever that is required into the program. Okay, and then it's going to be couple of lines of code which is going to do the actual connection, right? You no need to worry about understanding this syntaxes because it is not going to change at all for any Java program to connect to the MySQL DB. It's the same thing. There is a driver manager dot get connection. Get connection is a method, okay, from the driver manager class, where to this to this method you're passing the data as this is my URL that is required for the this get connection method to work. It needs what is a URL. So we are saying JDBC MySQL localhost 3306 slash your database name, and then it needs a user ID and it needs a password. These are the three inputs that you need to give it for this line. When you while you install the MySQL, right? Again, MySQL you can download it from the internet. Okay, it's a very simple installation. But while you installing it, okay, it will ask for the default DB name. Okay, that you can give it as a library. Even for our e-library application, this will be required. Okay, so give the library as a database name, and then it will ask for the root user ID and password. Okay, make sure that you provide the root user as root and password as pass at 123. Okay, if you give a indifferent password also, that is fine, but just make note of what is that you're giving it. Okay, so the default MySQL listen in 3306 port, so that you have to give it here, and then your database name, and then user ID and password. If you give any of these things are wrong, the connection might not work. Okay, say if I give something incorrect, it will get an exception anyway. I'll save it. And the below is to insert a data into a table, right? So there's a prepared statement which will prepare your query, and then it will pass the data, right? And then it will close the connection. Okay, so just a 3 lines, 4 lines, 10 lines of code maximum you have to write it for making a DB connection and to insert a data. Right, I'll just learn it. This is see, if at all you wanted to get started with Java from an engineering perspective, not from a developer perspective, okay, then definitely go with this approach where you start writing programs. Don't read books, start writing programs. Get a little bit comfortable in Eclipse, compiling it, running it. It will help indirectly, it won't help directly anywhere. Day to day life, when you do a profiling, when you do analysis, all this engineering, this will not help you directly, but indirectly you will get a confidence behind the scene that okay, we are analyzing a Java application where we have already seen how it is going to be, how to compile, how to create a jar file, how an exact class file is going to look like, how methods going to look like, how a DB connection is done, how from one class another class files are called. All these things, all this knowledge will help you in um, doing the job confidently, nothing else. So that's why I'm saying indirectly it will help you. Okay, so better do it once or twice whenever you get time in the coming weeks. Okay, I'll go and run this Java application. It says access denied for the user root one SQL exception. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just go and change it because I have given it incorrectly. It says that successfully connected to the MySQL database, and then there is a doesn't exist. So maybe the what it says is the table library e library 2 doesn't exist. So I think I mentioned it wrongly. The table name. Okay. Now there's no error. It connected to the MySQL and it would have inserted the data as well. Okay. So one more thing is be ready to face all these problems when you go to install Java 8 or Java line, Java 11 under Tomcat or Eclipse, right? You might get a lot of issues. Okay, and getting an issue is not only new to you. Anyone who is going to set up the new tool softwares in a mission, there will be compatibility problems. There will be some weird problems that will happen. Even for senior developers, it will happen. Try to troubleshoot those problems, right? Then, while in the process of troubleshooting, you will learn a lot. Okay, if something works immediately, then you will not end up learning a lot of things. Okay, so as a performance engineer, ready to face problems, ready to analyze it, ready to troubleshoot it. Okay, so if you have a problem in Java, Java might not be identified in the machine, Tomcat will not open, it will throw error. A lot of problems will come. Okay, try to take the error, Google it. You will get 3 4 suggestions. Try to apply it. Then you will eventually you will get these things working, because nothing is rocket science here. But you will get errors. Okay, so try to be a little patient and yeah, try to solve those problems, even it is going to take time. Okay, so this is one common thing that a developer is going to do from a DB connection perspective. You can also try it out. Okay, and similarly, the other thing is the making an HTTP connection, or to your third party calls, to your Facebook, to your Twitter, or to your any of your downstream services, right? Your application is going to be a, you'll have too many components from your main application. They might call a downstream microservices, right? So it's app to app connection. It is not from browser to app. Browser to app is going to be your main application. From your main application Java code, they will call a downstream services, or rather, they will make a HTTP connection to the third party API calls, right? So for that, um, if you go here, you might again need set of imports. But one thing is, for doing HTTP connection, you don't need any external jar file. So when you go and Google it, it won't prescribe you any external jar file to be used. Okay, it's all native Java components, java.net HTTP URL connection, java.net URL. Right? This suggestion anyway you will get it even if you don't have it. You will get it in the, when you go and copy the 5 lines of code from the internet to make a, this is the 5 lines of code to do a HTTP connection, right? It will say that get a URL, and then dot open connection, set the method, set the property, and connection dot connect, right? And can get the response code. It is simple. You're passing a URL, and then you're opening a connection, and you doing a get method, setting the user agent, and then doing a connection, and then getting a response code. So from algorithm perspective, it's all very straightforward algorithms. The code wise, you need to get the code from the internet, and then there's an error here. It says import HTTP URL connection. Import it. Import this URL. Import it. That's it. Now all the errors are gone, right? So from your application, they might connect to any microservices, which is nothing but HTTP call. They will provide the that URL here. Okay, I'm just connecting to amazon.com just for our validation. I'll just save it and then run it. Okay, it says get response code is 200. So we got a response code 200. If I go to give something wrong, it will throw the uh, response code as 500 or 404. Yeah, it is thrown an exception saying remote host terminated the handshake, right? So which means the IP address is not reachable. All these things, it will become relevant for you when we go and do all these profiling work. From a class file, when a third party is called, when a class file, a DB is called, how do we troubleshoot a response chain problem? You will relate all these things later. Okay, and typically a developer, right? Again, the starting point for all these things are all going to be behind the scene, right? All these class file creation are going to be behind the scene, and a developer, once he completes the code, say this e library application, is completed all the class files, or yes, modify the class files, and is going to check in this code to the Git. Right? And then maybe a DevOps team or your whoever it is responsible for deployment, they will they will download this project or they will check out this project, and then they will create a war file, or they would have automated this process as well to create a war file, right? But eventually in the Eclipse, the developer, if you want to provide a war file directly to you, or you in few of the organization, it's your responsibility to download the latest code to your Eclipse workspace. So you have to download this project, the latest code from the Git, and you will add it to your Eclipse, and then you will export this into a war file. Okay, and then do next. So creating this war file or a jar file from a project to project, it might vary. Okay, so you might need to, as a, if you are taking the responsibility of doing the profiling and then creating a war file for your own profiling, then you can need to get an instruction from a developer as a one time. How do they really go and create a jar or a war for their project, right? So one way is to do is right click it, do an export into a war, give the project name, the project name, and then give the destination where you need to copy this war file. It's simple as that, right? So you just right click it, export, and then war file, next, and then the destination. Okay, and then finish it. Okay, so that's how typically the war file comes to you for your deployment. And then you take this war file, and then you go to your Tomcat folder, copy that into the web apps here. This is the war file which we copied. This is the war file I copied, right? Where is it? Um, I think I copied to a C folder, I guess. Next. Yeah, I think I copied to C. Yeah. If you have copied it to, you just need to copy that war wherever you would copy, you exported this, copy that war file and paste it here in the web apps folder, and then you can go and start your Tomcat. So that's how the process is going to be. Okay. I'll pass it here. Any question, guys, on this?
So we
Okay,
have
fine.
installed MySQL also, right?
Yeah,
Like,
MySQL is optional. You can install it, but it is good to install it because in the e-library application, the login part might not need a MySQL, but for the other transactions, you would need the MySQL. So yeah, download the MySQL, and then um, let me go there. Let me show you that as well.
no, no, I have downloaded it.
Okay,
So we,
install it. Yeah, you
but
install it.
mm,
Go ahead.
for this e-library application, we need to configure that also, or
You download it and installed it.
download it, not install it.
Yeah.
Once install,
Okay.
we need to configure it to e-library file.
Yeah. Okay. What you do is, um, 1 minute. Let me take the dump. Yeah. Go to this MySQL e library. Download this dump. Okay. That you do it, and then from an installation perspective, you install it. While you installing it, right at the end, it will ask for you the DB name. Provide the DB name as library. Okay, and then it will ask for the root user ID and password while installing it. Okay, set it as root and set it as pcaps password 123. Okay, if possible, follow this same user ID and password so that the war file, whatever I give, it will work with this default um, user ID and password. Otherwise, I need to change the this in my code, and I have to give a war file, new war file. So try to follow this user ID, password, and database name while you install it. Okay, and then MySQL. So MySQL Workbench also will get installed along with the MySQL. You download the dump. Okay, the dump will have all the SQLs that you need to execute it in the workbench to create the tables. Okay, you need to go and create all the table structure on your own. This dump will have the um, for example, if I open this, okay, so this SQL, once you execute it, right, it will create a tables inside your library database. Okay, um, all these things are very straightforward. Open your workbench. Once you connect it to your database, right, so you would have installed the MySQL. While installing it, you would have created the library database. And then in the library database, if you open this SQL, you'll copy this SQL query and execute it, all your tables will get created. Okay, just try it once. If you have any problem, let me know. But the procedure is download the MySQL, install the MySQL, give this these as a database name, user ID and password. Okay, and then you can in the MySQL workbench, from the dump, you open this all this and three of these things, you can open it and then execute it. The table will get created, and then you will be able to start using the e-library application wherever there is a table is involved. Okay,
Satish,
follow it if you have
you're
any
being dropped
problem.
in the middle.
Sorry.
You're being dropped. We are not able to hear you for some time.
Oh, is it okay now?
No, okay.
Yeah. Now, what I was saying is, just try out these things. If you have any problem, let me know. I'll try to provide you the additional inputs. Only three steps: download, install the MySQL, and then while installing it, use this as a parameter for database name, user ID, and password. Okay, and then using the MySQL workbench, when you open MySQL workbench, automatically your database will get connected. Okay, and then once your database is connected, there you will execute these queries. Okay, this library. See, for example, here when I connected to my database, all my tables are listed, right? So for you, these tables will not be there. So for that is the reason you need to open the this editor. You will have this plus symbol here, where you can create a um, yeah, MySQL, new SQL tab for executing queries. Here, copy this. You can open this in the notepad, copy it, or you can double click it, right, it will automatically, it will open it in the workbench. Okay, and then you can go and execute it. Okay, so try out this. If you have any problem, I'll assist you.
Okay, then our e-library application, how are we going connecting
So
with
in the
this MySQL?
in the e-library application, if you go to the com.javapoint.dao, here in the db.java, this connection will be there.
From here, we are setting up the connection.
Yeah, yes. But in the war file, it will all be bundled. But if you are going to generate your own war file, if you have used some other database name, or your user ID is different, you need to change it in this db.java and then save it and then get a war file. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this again, for the first 3 or 4 days, this MySQL is not mandatory, but yeah, so it's not again complicated. Set it up. I mean, it's going to be just taking 15 minutes or 20 minutes. If you have any questions, we can look into it during the session as well. Okay. Yeah. Any other question, guys?
Okay, we'll try out the setup. I'll let you know.
Yeah, yeah. Try out the setup. As I said, it's sometimes it is not going to be straightforward. You will have errors. Troubleshoot the errors and then try to fix it. Okay. After probably trying out for a couple of days, if you couldn't able to solve it, just give me the errors or whatever that you are getting. We will try to look into it. Okay. Fine. So I would probably share the plan as well for rest of the week and going forward. Um, so we'll start with the. Let me go to the course.
So I have a question related SQL. So do I have to connect to the
Mhm.
database before running the script? Because in my case, when I launch the workbench, I open the SQL file. Uh, there is no I can enable to run
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
SQL. Do I
Because
have
yeah, you're right. Because even for me, it wouldn't have because it will not know to which database it has to run. Okay,
yes,
so yeah, you go to this library, okay, and then right click it, and then probably you can see whether there is an option to uh, or select this and then go to this MySQL plus create new SQL tab, right? Click it. Okay,
hmm,
there you copy this.
okay,
Okay. As I said, right, this even for me, this all these things are a little new. If you're going to be new to the workbench, MySQL workbench, but it's more of once you have this library, it has to know where to run this. There can be multiple database, right? It has to
yes,
know where it has to run this database. That's it.
yeah,
And here as well, somewhere I don't know whether the database name will be
yes,
provided.
library
Uh,
on
yeah,
in
the
comment.
table. Yeah, that is common. Yeah, that is only for our reference. So the
Yeah, yeah,
table name will be here, and then primary key. Yeah, database name will not be there. So which means you need to point to which database it has to run. So you select this and then run this. So for example, if I go and say ebook 3, okay, let me see if it is going to run ebook 3. Okay, it has affected, it has run this. You will see in the console,
yeah,
um, yeah, and then if I go and refresh this, yeah, the ebook 3 has come. So you also do it and then refresh the schema. Okay, there will be administration tab, there will be a schema tab. In the schema tab, here you go and refresh it.
yeah.
So so from tomorrow, yeah, mostly from tomorrow, I'll check with the Isha depending upon the registration. So from tomorrow we'll get started with the engineering sessions. Okay. So what the way we will do is we will assume that we are going to be a part of the early performance engineering. Your applications are getting developed, and we will start as a performance engineer. We should start analyzing your response time, analyzing your memory for every functionality, every page, every APIs. You need to go and look for whether the response times are within SLA, whether there's a memory problem at a functionality level, at a single user level. Okay, so we'll start with the early performance engineering from tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, meanwhile try to set up at least Tomcat, um, minimal thing, uh, and the J profiler as well. Okay, so Java
Today
Tomcat
you
J
mentioned,
profiler, we set it up.
you said download the dump. In the dump, we see only some dump, and it is mentioned. We see some SQL files. That's it. Where is the
Yeah,
soft?
yeah. No, 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 no. This dump is for the SQLs. Okay. For my, if you want to download the MySQL itself, let me see whether I have this MySQL also in the drive. Okay, let me go back.
Okay, it is there in
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah. You have it. I downloaded from this E drive. There is a MSI file. MSI file. Scroll up.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is there.
Yes.
You can download this and install it where your MySQL database will be MySQL will be installed and the workbench will also be installed. And MySQL, if you go, it will be installed as a service. If you go to the service and then here MySQL will be running here. Okay, you can start and stop. Sometimes if MySQL is not working, you have to come here and then start it. Yeah. Okay, guys. We'll stop here. We'll continue from tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Fine. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.